Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhakti Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 12, Conversation between Maharaj Rahugana and Jad Bharat. Text number 13 onwards. So previous verse, Jad Bharat told Maharaj Rahugana that unless and until one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotee, one cannot realize the absolute truth. So further he says, Yatra uttama shloka gunanuvadaha prastuyate grame katha vighataha Nishevya mano anudinam mumukshor matim sati yachati vasudeve. Who are the pure devotees mentioned here? In an assembly of pure devotees, there is no question of discussing material subjects like politics and sociology. In an assembly of pure devotees, there is discussion only of the qualities, forms, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is praised and worshipped with full attention in the association of pure devotees by constantly hearing such topics respectfully. Even a person who wants to merge into the existence of the absolute truth abandons his idea and gradually becomes attached to the service of Vasudeva. So that is a pure devotee. The symptoms of pure devotees are described in this verse. The pure devotee is never interested in material topics. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has strictly prohibited his devotees to talk about worldly matters. Grame Varta na kahibe. Mahaprabhu told this to Raghunath Das Goswami. One should not indulge in talking unnecessarily about news of the material world. One should not waste time in this way. This is a very important feature in the life of a devotee. A devotee has no other ambition than to serve Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Krishna consciousness movement was started to engage people 24 hours daily in the service of the Lord and in His glorification. The students in this institution engage in the cultivation of Krishna consciousness from 5 in the morning to 10 at night. They actually have no opportunity to waste their time unnecessarily by discussing politics, sociology, and current events. These will go their own way. A devotee is concerned only with serving Krishna positively and seriously. So wonderful instructions by Srila Prabhupada. So more we want to advance, more we want to give up our wasting time in discussing material subjects like politics and sociology and sports and gossiping and whatever other things we do. I know our mind, our senses, we get so much of pleasure when we talk about all these topics. And we don't even keep track of time, how the time flies when we're talking about those topics. But if we want to make advancement, if we want to make progress spiritually, we have to cut it down completely. If not, at least cut down slowly. So that is why if we are with the devotees, we try to speak of Krishna. And if we are not, if nothing else to talk about, just sit down and chant more rounds. That will always help. And this topics of politics and whatever is going on all over the world, actually it doesn't help us. And this is what Prabhupada says. These things will go on their own way, whatever is happening. We cannot stop, we cannot do anything. So the point is slowly, we have to go away from all these different issues and just concentrate on Krishna. Aham pura bharato nam raja vimukta drishta shrutta sanga bandha aradhanam bhagvat ihamano mrigo bhavam mrig sangad dhartartha. In a previous birth, I was known as Maharaj Bharat. I attained perfection by becoming completely detached from material activities through direct experience and through indirect experience. I received understanding from the Vedas. I was fully engaged in the service of the Lord, but due to my misfortune, I became very affectionate to a small deer, so much so that I neglected my spiritual duties. Due to my deep affection for the deer in my next life, I had to accept the body of a deer. So this is what Jad Bharat is saying. Because I got involved, I got so much attached to that deer that my consciousness became of that of a deer. So I had to accept the body of a deer. So we have to see where our consciousness is. Is it in politics? Is it in current state of affairs? Is it in Kisan Andolan or COVID or sports or movies or whatever? Or is it in Krishna? That we have to see. The incident herein described is very significant. In a previous verse, it is stated, Vina Mahatpada Rajo Abhishek. One cannot attain perfection without smearing the dust from the lotus feet of an exalted devotee on his head. If one always follows the orders of the spiritual master, there is no question of falling down. As soon as a foolish disciple tries to overtake a spiritual master and becomes ambitious to occupy his post, he immediately falls down. If the spiritual master is considered an ordinary man, the disciple surely loses his chance to advance further. Despite a very rigid life in devotional service, Bharat Maharaj did not consult his spiritual master when he became overly attached to a deer. Consequently, he became strongly attached to the deer and forgetting his spiritual routine, he fell down. And then Bharat Maharaj was at the level of Bhav Bhakti. He fell down. And think of us. Where are we? Where do we stand? We don't even do our bhajan kriya properly. Shraddha is even the Shraddha part is not firm yet. It's still very dwindling. And sadhu sangha, hardly any sadhu sangha going on. So we are in a very, very precarious position actually. So we have to put in more and more effort, more and more effort. Samam smritir mrig dehe api vira krishnarchan prabhavano jahati atho aham jan sangad sango vishankamano avivrittascharami. My dear heroic king, due to my past sincere service to the Lord, I could remember everything of my past life, even while in the body of a deer. Because I'm aware of the fall down in my past life, I always keep myself separate from the association of ordinary men. Being afraid of their bad materialistic association, I wander alone, unnoticed by others. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya. It is certainly a great fall to go from human life to animal life. But in the case of Bharat Maharaj or any devotee, devotional service to the Lord never goes in vain. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, yam yam vapi smaran. At the time of death, by nature's law, the mind is absorbed in a certain type of thinking. This may lead one to animal life, yet for a devotee, there is no loss. Even though Bharat Maharaj received the body of a deer, he did not forget his position. Consequently, in the body of a deer, he was very careful to remember the cause of his downfall. As a result, he was given a chance to be born in a family of very pure Brahmins. Thus, his service to the Lord never went in vain. Now, this is the beauty of devotion service, and this is the mercy of Krishna, that any swalpam api asya, swalpam, very little, even very little service done to Krishna, he always remembers. It's never gone to waste. But here, Jad Bharat is speaking that as King Bharat, I got attached to a deer, and then I had to take the body of a deer. And then I again got the body of this Jad Bharat, and I wandered alone, unnoticed by others. So, okay, so we know that we don't remember our past lives. We don't know. But one thing for sure, that whatever we started in a previous life or previous lives, because of that, Krishna has made arrangements for us to again come in the association of devotees. That's all. I mean, we don't have to remember, we can see it from the scriptures. But now what? That's the question. Now what? So we have to get more and more serious about bhakti. Tasman naro asanga susanga jata jnana sineha vivrikna moha harim tadiha kathan shutabhyam labdha smritir yati yati paramadhana. Simply by associating with exalted devotees, anyone can attain perfection of knowledge, and with the sword of knowledge can cut to pieces the illusory associations within this material world. Through the association of devotees, one can engage in the service of the Lord by hearing and chanting Shravanam Kirtanam. Thus, one can revive his dormant Krishna consciousness and, sticking to the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, return home back to Godhead, even in this life. To become liberated from material bondage, one must give up the association of worldly people and accept the association of devotees. Positive and negative processes are mentioned in this regard. Through the association of devotees, one develops Krishna consciousness, which is dormant within. This Krishna consciousness movement is giving this chance to everyone. We are giving shelter to everyone who is serious about progressing in Krishna consciousness. We arrange for their lodging and board so that they can peacefully cultivate Krishna consciousness and return home back to Godhead, even in this life. So this is the purpose. The whole purpose of Krishna consciousness movement, as Prabhupada is mentioning here, is to give a chance to everyone who is serious, to give him a chance to redevelop his dormant Krishna consciousness. Means everybody is originally is Krishna conscious. It's just we have forgotten. Most of us have forgotten it maybe to 99%. Some of us maybe 98, 90, 85, whatever percentage. So it's just a chance given by Krishna, given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by Guru Parampara, by Srila Prabhupada, given a chance to all the fallen conditioned souls to revive it, revive the dormant Krishna consciousness. So this is the whole purpose of the movement. In the process, I mean, we have to see where our, in which association, in what company, or whatever activities, we get more inspired to serve more inspired to chant more, read more, hear more, associate more. So that's the whole idea. And then so that we make progress properly. So there ends the 12th chapter, and we can start the 13th chapter entitled Further Talks Between King Rahugana and Jadbharat. Text 1. Brahman uvacha duratyaye adhanya jaya niveshito rajastamah sattva vibhakta karmandrik saesha sartho arthaparaha paribhraman bhavatavim yati na sharma vindati. Jadbharat, who had fully realized Brahman, continued, "My dear King Rahugana, the living entity wanders on the path of the material world, which is very difficult for him to traverse, and he accepts repeated birth and death. Being captivated by the material world under the influence of the three modes of material nature, Satagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, the living entity can see only the three fruits of activities under the spell of material nature. These fruits are auspicious, inauspicious, and mixed. He thus becomes attached to religion, economic development, sense gratification, and the monistic theory of liberation, merging with the Supreme. He works very hard day and night, exactly like a merchant who enters a forest to acquire some articles to sell later for profit. However, he cannot really achieve happiness within this material world. So again, coming back to the material world and the problems in this, one can very easily understand how difficult and insurmountable the path of sense gratification is. Not knowing what the path of sense gratification is, one becomes implicated in the repetition of birth and accepts different types of bodies again and again. Thus, one suffers in material existence. In this life, one may think that he's very happy being an American, Indian, Englishman, or German. But in the next life, one has to accept another body among 8,400,000 species. The next body has to be immediately accepted according to karma. One will be forced to accept a certain type of body, and protesting will not help. That is a stringent law of nature. Due to the living entity's ignorance of his eternal blissful life, he becomes attracted to material activities under the spell of Maya. In this world, he can never experience happiness, yet he works very hard to do so. This is called Maya. It's a very strong purpose by Prabhupada. So in this material world, Prabhupada says he can never experience happiness. The real happiness is in the spiritual world or in the spiritual practices. Real happiness lies there. No matter what we do materially, it's just impossible. But everybody is running around, working hard, day and night, and trying to make money, trying to get something or some material possessions or some position, thinking that I'll be happy if I get that. But no, it's not gonna happen. And so much of chaos, so much of fighting going on all over the world. Everybody is trying to be happy. Everybody is thinking that if the leaders are thinking if my countrymen can be happy, or if I get this deal signed, or this project done, or this thing done, or if that country comes under my jurisdiction, I'll be happy. It's not gonna happen. Yasyam ime shanna naradeva dasyavaha sartham vilampanti kunayakam balat gomayavo yatra haranti sarthikam pramattam avishya yathoranam brikaha. O King Rahugana, in this forest of material existence, there are 6 very powerful plunderers. When the conditioned soul enters a forest to acquire some material gain, the 6 plunderers misguide him. Thus, a conditioned merchant does not know how to spend his money, and it is taken away by these plunderers, like tigers, jackals, and other ferocious animals in a forest, that are ready to take away a lamb from the custody of his protector. The wife and children enter the heart of the merchant and plunder him in so many ways. So, wife and children are called the plunderers, and as other places they were called dasyu. So, same here, dasyu here also. They just plunder him or they rob him in so many ways. In the forest, there are many plunderers, dacoits, jackals, and tigers. The jackals are compared to one's wife and children. In the dead of night, jackals cry very loudly, and similarly, one's wife and children in the material world also cry like jackals. The children say, Father, this is wanted. Give me this. I'm your dear son. Or the wife says, I'm your dear wife. Please give me this. Well, they don't even use the word please anymore. This is now needed. In this way, one is plundered by the thieves in the forest. Not knowing the aim of human life, one is constantly being misguided. The aim of life is Vishnu. Everyone works very hard to earn money, but no one knows that his real self-interest is in serving the Supreme Personality of God. Instead of spending money for advancing the Krishna consciousness movement, one spends his hard-earned money on clubs, brothels, liquor, slaughterhouses, and so forth. Due to sinful activities, one becomes implicated in the process of transmigration and thus has to accept one body after another. Being thus absorbed in a distressed condition, one never attains happiness. So one might say that this verse or the translation or the purport is from men's point of view. Nowadays, ladies are also working. So how appropriate it is to say the ladies are the plunderers, or the wives and children are the plunderers. But regardless, we just have to see that hard-earned money is just taken away. Of course, this is our responsibility, and in return, we get love and affection of our dependents, and that is why everybody likes to work hard. Otherwise, why would everybody work hard? But the real aim of life is missing. That is the point. Real aim of life is to serve Vishnu. No, nobody says don't work hard to make money. Nobody says don't make money. Nobody says don't have family life. Nobody says don't have wife, children, or whatever. But the aim of life is to serve Vishnu. So the Grihastha Ashram should be centered around serving Krishna or Vishnu. Then they are not plunderers. Then they are devotees, and they all Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are all working together to please Krishna, to take care of each other in the service of Krishna. That is a real life, spiritual life. But without that, Prabhupada, due to sinful activities, one becomes implicated, and being thus absorbed in a distressed condition, one never attains happiness. Prabhut viru trina gulma gahavare kathora danchar mashikar updrutaha kvachittu gandharva puram prapashyati kvachit chashuryolma ukgriham. In this forest, there are dense bowers composed of thickets of bushes, grass, and creepers. In these bowers, the conditioned soul is always disturbed by cruelly biting mosquitoes, or which are envious people. Sometimes he sees an imaginary palace in the forest, and sometimes is bewildered by seeing a fleeting fiend or ghost which appears like a meteor in the sky. The material household is actually a whole of fruitive activity. To earn a livelihood, one engages in different industries and trades. Sometimes one performs great sacrifices to go to higher planetary systems. Apart from this, at least everyone is engaged in earning a livelihood in some profession or occupation. In these dealings, one has to meet many undesirable people, and the behavior is compared to the biting of mosquitoes. The envious people that we meet them everywhere in all walks of life. They are considered biting of mosquitoes, and for no reason they'll come and disturb. This creates very undesirable conditions. Even in the midst of these disturbances, one imagines that he is going to construct a grand house and live there permanently, although he knows that he cannot. Gold is compared to a quickly fleeting fiend, which appears like a meteor in the sky. It displays itself for a moment and then is gone. Generally, karmis are attracted to gold or money, but these are compared herein to ghosts and witches. And everybody likes to invest in gold, especially in India. They like to buy so much of gold and hoard it. And the shloka compares the gold to what? The ghosts and witches. They are just gone. They come and go. It's our attraction to it, or our attachment to gold is so great that we don't realize what are we getting into. Now, as a matter of investment for emergency purposes or for retirement, that's a different story. But people just like to buy gold, so much of gold. People like to buy and have it stored, and many times thieves come and steal it. Nivasato yadravrinatma buddhis tatastato dhavati bho atvyam kvachit chavatyot thita pansu dhumra disho na janati rajasvalakshaha. My dear king, the merchant on the forest path of the material world, his intelligence victimized by home, wealth, relatives, and so forth, runs from one place to another in search of success. Sometimes his eyes are covered by the dust of a whirlwind, and what that is to say, in his lust, he is captivated by the beauty of his wife, especially during a menstrual period. Thus his eyes are blinded and he cannot see where to go or what he is doing. It is said that household attraction resides in the wife because sex is the center of household life. Yan mathunadi grimedi sukham hi tucham. A materialistic person making his wife the center of attraction works very hard day and night. His only enjoyment in material life is sexual intercourse. Therefore, karmis are attracted to women as friends or wives. Indeed, they cannot work without sex. Under the circumstances, the wife is compared to a whirlwind, especially during her menstrual period. Those who strictly follow the rules and regulations of householder life engage in sex only once a month at the end of the menstrual period. As one looks forward to this opportunity, his eyes are overwhelmed by the beauty of his wife. Thus it is said that the whirlwind covers the eyes with dust. Such a lusty person does not know that all his material activities are being observed by different demigods, especially the sun god, and are being recorded for the karma of one's next body. So, when the story of Ajamil comes, then we'll see who all are responsible for recording of all of our karmas at every single moment. Everything is being recorded. There are things, if I'm not wrong, 10 people who keep the record. So you cannot run away. Astrological calculations are called Jyotish Shastra because the Jyoti or effulgence in the material world comes from different stars and planets. The science is called Jyotish Shastra. Jyotish Shastra, the science of the luminaries. By the calculation of Jyoti, our future is indicated. In other words, all the luminaries, the stars, the sun and moon, witness the activities of the conditioned soul. Thus, he is awarded a particular type of body. A lusty person whose eyes are covered by the dust of the whirlwind or material existence does not at all consider that his activities are being observed by different stars and planets and are being recorded. Not knowing this, the conditioned soul commits all kinds of sinful activities for the satisfaction of his lusty desires. Our thing is, we think that when we do some good activity, pious activity, or devotional service, we hope Krishna is watching, Krishna is making note of it. But when we do sinful activity, we think that nobody is watching, nobody is keeping a record of this thing. But that's not true. Everything is recorded, every single thing. And here Prabhupada says luminaries, different luminaries, sun and moon, are the witnesses of our activities. That's why it's called Jyotish Shastra. Jyoti means the light. And even if all the demigods are not there, even if, which they are always there, but even if they don't notice, the Paramatma is sitting in our heart, who knows everything. Not just what we are doing, what we are thinking also. He knows everything. Cannot run away. Adrishya Jhilli Swan Karana Shula Uluk Vagbhir Vyatitantaratma Apanya Vrikshan Shrayate Kshudartito Mari Chito Yanya Abhidhavati Kvachit. Wandering in the forest of the material world, the conditioned soul sometimes hears an invisible cricket making harsh sounds, and his ears become very much aggrieved. Sometimes his heart is pained by the sounds of owls, which are just like the harsh words of his enemies. Sometimes he takes shelter of a tree that has no fruits or flowers. He approaches such a tree due to his strong appetite, and thus he suffers. He would like to acquire water, but is simply illusioned by a mirage, and he runs after it. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the Bhagavad philosophy is meant for people who are completely free from envy. Paramo nirmatsarana. The material world is full of envious people. Even within one's inner circle, there is much backbiting, and this is compared to the sound vibration of a cricket in the forest. One cannot see the cricket, but one hears its sounds and thus becomes aggrieved. So this, even if you don't go to the forest at night, if you just are outside your house, and if there is some greenery, we can hear the crickets making this very harsh sound. So it is compared to all the envious people around us, and they're ready for backbiting. When one takes to Krishna consciousness, one always hears unpalatable words from relatives. This is the nature of the world. One cannot avoid mental distress due to the backbiting of envious people. Being very much aggrieved, sometimes one goes to a sinful person for help, but he has no means to help because he has no intelligence. Thus, a living entity is disappointed. This is like running after a mirage in the desert in an effort to find water. Such activities do not produce any tangible results. Due to being directed by the illusory energy, a conditioned soul suffers in so many ways. So many ways, everybody is suffering. And it is true for every living entity all over the universe, especially all over this planet Earth. It's happening everywhere. Envious people are everywhere, backbiting, leg pulling, politics, backstabbing, everything is going on. So this is Krishna's way of telling us this material world is dukkhalyam ashashvatam. Don't try to live here and think you can be very happy and make it a peaceful, happy place. Not gonna happen. Not going to happen. Even if we live in a multi-million-dollar home or a beautiful palace or bungalow or whatever, still there is so much of stuff going on, backbiting. Envious people are everywhere. And more we have materially, more people will be envious towards our achievements or possessions. And they will do their stuff. They'll keep on doing their stuff. This is really Krishna's way of telling, just get out of here. Get out of this forest. Kvachid vitoya sarito abhiyati parasparam chalashate niranda asadya davam kvachid agni tapto nirvidyate kvacha yakshar haritasuhu. Sometimes a conditioned soul jumps into a shallow river or being short of food grains. He goes to beg food from people who are not at all charitable. Sometimes he suffers from the burning heat of household life, which is like a forest fire. And sometimes he becomes sad to have his wealth, which is as dear as life, plundered by kings in the name of heavy income taxes. And every year they come up with a new budget and more taxes and they just want to take away hard-earned money of everybody. When one is hot due to scorching sun, sometimes jumps into a river to gain relief. However, if the river is almost dried up and the water is too shallow, one may break his bones by jumping in it. The conditioned soul is always experiencing miserable conditions. Sometimes its efforts to get help from friends are exactly like jumping into a dry river. By such actions, it does not derive any benefit. He only breaks his bones. Sometimes suffering from a shortage of food, one may go to a person who is neither able to give charity nor willing to do so. Sometimes one is stationed in a household life which is compared to a forest fire. Sansara Dhavanam. When a man is heavily taxed by the government, he becomes very sad. Heavy taxation obliges one to hide his income. That's black money. But despite this endeavor, the government agents are often so vigilant and strong that they take all the money anyway, and the conditioned soul becomes very aggrieved. So, government agents, ED is very vigilant and strong. Or sometimes they do demonetization, and then again, all the black money comes out. So many things government can do. Thus, people are trying to become happy within the material world, but this is like trying to be happy in a forest fire. No one need to go to a forest to set it ablaze. Fire takes place automatically. Similarly, no one wants to be unhappy in family life or worldly life. But by the laws of nature, unhappiness and distress are forced on everyone. To become dependent on another's maintenance is very degrading. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, everyone should live independently. Only the Shudras are unable to live independently. They are obliged to serve someone for maintenance. It is said in the Shastras, Kalo Shudra Sambhava. In this age of Kali, everyone is dependent on another's mercy for the maintenance of the body. Therefore, everyone is classified as a Shudra. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said in Kali Yuga, the government will levy taxes without reciprocally benefiting the citizens. In this age of Kali, there will also be a shortage of rain. Therefore, a scarcity of food will arise, and the citizens will be very much harassed by government taxation. In this way, the citizens will abandon their attempts to lead a peaceful life and will leave their homes and hearths and go to the forest in sheer disappointment. So, not very happy or rosy picture being painted by Jad Bharat for King Rahugana, and nicely explained by Prabhupada for benefit of all of us, that this material world is not a very suitable place for us to live in, especially in this Kali Yuga. And that is why Kali Yuga is considered one of the best ages, where we can really see the miseries all over. And that means we should get more and more resolve to get out of here. But still, people, or like Prabhupada said earlier, 99.9% of people will still try to do some jugaad, something just to make sure that we live here happily. Not going to happen. Shurar hirtsva kvacha nirvana chetaha shochan vimuyan upayati kashmalam kvachit gandharva puram pravishtaha pramodate nirvrit van muhurtam. Sometimes being defeated or plundered by a superior powerful agent, a living entity loses all his possessions. He then becomes very morose, and lamenting their loss, he sometimes becomes unconscious. Excuse me. Sometimes he imagines a great palatial city in which he desires to live happily with his family members and riches. He thinks himself fully satisfied if this is possible, but such so-called happiness continues only for a moment. The word Gandharva Puram is very significant in this verse. Sometimes in the forest, a very big castle appears, and this is called a castle in the air. Actually, this castle does not exist anywhere but in one's imagination. This is called Gandharva Pura. In the material forest, the conditioned soul sometimes contemplate great castles and skyscrapers and he wastes his energy for such things, hoping to live in them very peacefully with his family forever. However, the laws of nature do not allow this. When he enters such castles, he temporarily thinks that he's very happy, even though his happiness is impermanent. His happiness may last for a few years, but because the owner of the castle has to leave the castle at the time of death, everything is eventually lost. This is the way of worldly transactions. Such happiness is described by Vidyapati. As a poet, Vidyapati, very wonderful poet, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to listen to his writings. Such happiness is described by Vidyapati as a happiness one derives upon seeing a drop of water in the desert. The desert is heated by scorching sunshine, and if we want to reduce the desert temperature, we need huge amounts of water, millions and millions of gallons. What effect will one drop have? Water certainly has value, but one drop of water cannot reduce the heat of the desert. In this material world, everyone is ambitious, but the heat is very scorching. What will an imaginary castle in the air do to help? Srila Vidyapati has therefore sung, Tatal Saikate Vari Bindu Sama, Sutmita Ramani Samaj. The happiness of family life, friends, and society is compared to a drop of water in the scorching desert. The entire material world is busy trying to attain happiness because happiness is a prerogative of the living entity. Unfortunately, due to falling in contact with the material world, the living entity simply struggles for existence. Even if one becomes happy for a while, a very powerful enemy may plunder everything. There are many instances in which big businessmen suddenly become paupers in the street. Yet the nature of material existence is that such foolish people are attracted to these transactions and they forget the real business of self-realization. So in the forest, sometimes the passenger, he is defeated, plundered by superior powerful agents, but he becomes morose, but then he sees a palace a palatial city in the sky, and he thinks, I can live there happily. It's all conditioning of our mind or the things we generate in our mind. But because we don't know how to get out of this material world, we don't know the process. So many people, they don't know. So they just think this is what life is all about. This is what we have to do. And it goes on and on and on and on. We work hard to make money, to keep our family happy, together, safe, comfortable. Something happens, somebody will come, take away all our possessions, then we cry for a while, we curse him for a while, and then we again start working hard to make money, to make our ends meet, and this and that. And the person who has stolen our properties, our possessions, somebody else will come steal his, or death will have definitely take it away. It's just ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous way of living. But this is what we all go through, and this is what we all want, and this is why Krishna has created all this. Based on our desires, he has created everything. Chalan kvachit kant kashar karangrir nagarur rukshur vimana ivaste pade abhyantar vahne narditaha kotum vikaha krudhyati janaya. Sometimes a merchant in the forest wants to climb the hills and mountains, but due to insufficient footwear, his feet are pricked by small stone fragments and by thorns on the mountain. Being pricked by them, he becomes very aggrieved. Sometimes a person who's very attached to his family becomes overwhelmed with hunger, and due to his miserable condition, he becomes furious with his family members. The ambitious conditioned soul wants to be very happy in this material world with his family. But he is compared to a traveler in the forest who desires to climb a hill full of thorns and small stones. As stated in the previous verse, the happiness derived from society, friendship, and love is like a drop of water in the scorching heat of the desert. One may want to become very great and powerful in society, but this is like attempting to climb a hill full of thorns. And this is what everybody wants, become great and powerful to whatever extent. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares one's family to high mountains. Becoming happy in their association is like a hungry man's endeavoring to climb a mountain full of thorns. Almost 99.9% of population is unhappy in family life, despite all the attempts being made to satisfy the family members. In the Western countries, due to the dissatisfaction of the family members, there is actually no family life. There are many cases of divorce, and out of dissatisfaction, the children leave the protection of their parents. Especially in this age of Kali, family life is being reduced. Everyone is becoming self-centered because that's a law of nature. Even if one has sufficient money to maintain a family, the situation is such that no one is happy in family life. Consequently, according to the Varnashram institution, one has to retire from family life in middle age. Pancha Shodhvam Vanam Brajet. One should voluntarily retire from family life at the age of 50 and go to Vrindavan or a forest. This is recommended by Srila Prahlad Maharaj in 7th canto. There is no benefit in transferring from one forest to another. One must go to the Vrindavan forest and take shelter of Govinda. That will make one happy. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is therefore constructing a Krishna Balaram temple to invite its members, as well as outsiders, to come and live peacefully in a spiritual atmosphere. That will help one become elevated to the transcendental world and return home back to Godhead. Another sentence in this verse is very significant. Kautumbikaha kudhyati vajanaya. When one's mind is disturbed in so many ways, he satisfies himself by becoming angry with his poor wife and children. Wife and children actually dependent on the father, but the father, being unable to maintain the family properly, becomes mentally distressed and therefore chastises the family members unnecessarily. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, Achindara Dravin Yasyanti Giri Kananam. Being disgusted with family life, one separates from the family by divorce or some other means. If one has to separate, why not separate willingly? Systematic separation is better than forced separation. Forced separation cannot make anyone happy, but by mutual consent or by the Vedic arrangement, one must separate from its family affairs at a certain age and fully depend on Krishna. This makes one's life successful. So many things Prabhupada covered here, and in the shloka, Jad Bharat is saying something, but Prabhupada is explaining it completely. That what does the climbing the hills and mountains, that is like trying to become very powerful or great in the society. And one will get so many pricked by the stones and the thorns. And then he becomes very aggrieved. And then Prabhupada talks about because people are not happy in their family lives. So many divorces are taking place. Of course, Prabhupada is talking about Western countries, but it's happening all over. In India also, this is so common now. And because so difficult to live together. And so people just want divorces. And Prabhupada in the end, he's saying, why go for forced separation, which is divorce? Why not mutually or with mutual consent, just leave at a certain age and fully depend upon Krishna? But because the training hasn't been done in the young age, one cannot just adopt the process properly when he's old. So this training, like Prahlad Maharaj will read in 7th canto, he says, at the age of 5, this training should start, the spiritual training. So anyway, very dark picture is being painted here. So by Jad Bharat to King Rahugana. So we'll stop here and continue it tomorrow. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my
Hare
humble
Krishna.
obeisance. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. There is so many take-on points to seriously contemplate from today's class. Even so many that most of the time, a lot of questions arise, and then I also don't know how to frame the questions. But just wanted to know, is there any hope for me? Because hearing hearing from Prabhupada's all the explanation, it doesn't appear to be. So, I mean,
Beta, there is hope for everybody. We are not discouraging you from getting married. That's not the purpose.
No, the Prabhupada said, no, okay, this is Dukhalayam, the material world. So if someone asks us, how are you? We have a habit of saying, yes, I'm good. I'm mostly generally it comes out like I'm good. Good or happiness is measured based on our achievement or family relationships or dealings. If everyone is good, then we are good. So it naturally it comes like that. It doesn't come like, okay, I have a very good transcendental relationship with Krishna, that's why I'm feeling very good. This doesn't come at all. So how to develop this firm conviction on the word of Shastras, like Prabhupada's words? Because many a times it happens that we are hearing and listening, but literally, um, uh, practically speaking, I mean, most of the times it happens like taken for granted, just hearing, and it is not going to the heart and the mind. I mean, simply, okay, today's class has been finished, so let me go, engage myself in material world. And while engaging in the material activities here and there, completely, totally, I forget about everything about spiritual world. And Prabhupada said that try to be in the spiritual world. How to, have the feeling of living in the spiritual world, being in the material world, Prabhuji?
Oh, too many questions. So first thing, when somebody asks you how you're doing and you say, I'm good. But at the same time, if we say negative things, like this is psychologists have said, and I've read it. Even if we say not bad, but that negative word will have a negative feeling created inside you. So that is why it's always better to say positive things. I'm good. See, it definitely has the positive vibrations inside the body if we say positive words. So this should be the habit, because yes, I don't know. Ashok probably told me the other day. I misquoted it. I said 3 trillion cells. He said no. I think he said 7 trillion cells are there in the body. So if we give them the positive energy, all the cells will develop positive energy and will develop the positivity in our lives. So we should never use a negative words. Don't say not bad, which also means good, but we use the word bad. So that will give negative feeling to the cells. So now how to feel good? how to live in this material world. This process is the same. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pad Sevanam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. That's it. There is no other process. It's how do we take it up, how we perform these activities. That's up to us. If Prabhupada is sitting here and he's chanting or he is reading or he is giving lecture, he is taking darshan of the deities, obviously his consciousness level and our consciousness completely different. All we have to do is just hang on to his dhoti and keep on continuing, carry on with our activities of chanting and reading. Yes, I give lectures and you all hear it for half an hour or 1 hour every day. We feel okay, rest of the 23 hours, nothing happens, fine. But let's make this half an hour very, very good. So slowly, it will have the effect. I came in contact with the movement in 1996, or 25 years ago. And still, I don't think I've made any progress. I got initiated in 1999, 22 years ago. That's a long time of chanting 16 rounds every day. And I don't know how many tons of prasadam I must have eaten so far. Gallons and gallons of Charnamrit. So much money spent on going to Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, and all those wonderful places. Still, I don't feel there is hardly any change. But I hope Krishna is noticing something. but that's what it is. We have to continue, carry on with our services. And with a happy mood. Don't be sad. Don't use the negative words. Never use the negative words. Always use the positive words. And just keep going.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. All I seek your blessings. Please bless me, Prabhuji, so that I can at least draw 1% quality from you.
I'm seeking blessings of everybody. And I don't know, Radha Prabhu is, I think he's enjoying his mother's cooking, and he's not attending all these classes, not giving us his association.
Prabhuji is busy playing carom board.
In the morning?
No. He likes to play carom board. So he has a very good friend circle in South India. So nowadays, during night time, so he goes.
That is fine. So we have to make him at least attend the class and then he can sleep. No problem.
Prabhuji is always in the top of the world, Prabhuji. I mean,
I know.
Prabhuji,
Actually-
I never knew carom board was it's a big time culture in this south also. It was there in Bengal. Club side, they play carom boards, 4, 5, 10 boards they'll put it and play during the night.
Yeah.
I never knew. Just Mataji has told that Radha Prabhuji is playing there in south also. Something new to know.
So,
Actually,
apparently
it's
it's there.
everywhere.
Huh? Sorry?
It is a popular game even in Northeast also.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
yeah.
Carom board and
Yes.
badminton as well.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, again, I one more question I had it because while you were mentioning about the fear, like we all have fear, something or for other. How to shift that fear for the good in the sense, like as you mentioned today from the today's class, that all our actions are counted by all the demigods. So we'll have to take the next birth or next life according to that. But still knowing that, hearing that also for some time, for a fraction of time, immediately that fear comes, okay, at least it is countable. But after some time, again, this forgetful nature comes, then again, I fall in the trap of doing the same mistake again and again. So how to develop that fear, or how to shift the bad fear to this, to the level of this fear?
See, one way of doing it is understand we have to become Krishna conscious. We don't have to become the negativity conscious or anartha conscious. So more we become Krishna conscious, automatically our tendency to commit those sins will go away. And even if knowingly, unknowingly, whichever way, if we have committed some sin, fine. The process should be, yes, according to scripture, we should be afraid, but we have Krishna to take shelter of. Go take shelter of Krishna, Krishna's lotus feet. Prabhupada is the best person to take shelter of, is Prabhupada. He is a pure devotee who is there to protect us, to take care of us. So take shelter of Prabhupada. Prabhupada, okay, I made this mistake. Please forgive me. I want to carry on. He will. He will help every way possible. So slowly, the tendency will go away. That's the most important thing. Because this is what you're talking about fear now. Just wait till the end of 5th canto, when the description of the hellish planets is there. Even Parikshit Maharaj got scared.
Oh God.
Yes, Guruji, waiting actually.
Oh, yeah. The 26 types of hellish planets mentioned. And Prabhupada has really explained very nicely all the punishments and what goes on in every hellish planet. So anyway, we don't have to become hell conscious. We have to become Krishna conscious. So again, develop the positivity.
Yes, Guruji. Actually, when you talk about developing the positive attitude, it can be easily drawn when we stay in the place like Dham or Vrindavan or Mayapur, because the whole environment and association is like that. But staying in the blocked room and then in the town, cities, and right after stepping out from the house, we are dealing with this material world whose mindsets are very different, and it is quite challenging to, I mean, slip off. I mean, to maintain this. I mean, um, so
But just to warn you, I don't want to scare you. Living in Dham is also could be dangerous because we have the tendency to commit offenses. We have to be really eligible to go to Dham with the right frame of mind, right mood, right consciousness. Otherwise, we can commit offenses. And that's why Prabhupada mentioned some place, I think we have already covered that. Do not live in Dham more than 3 days.
mhm.
Just go live for 3 days, get out of there.
Right.
So that is more dangerous actually. So we just have to go get our batteries charged and come back. So best thing is to pray to Prabhupada and continue with our services. And hopefully whenever we are eligible, arrangements will be made by Krishna for us to live in Dham or wherever. That's up to him to decide.
Yes, Guruji. All we have to have the desire and constant reminder. Else,
Just carry on with your services, even if in a locked room, small room in wherever you live, it's fine, it's great. This is what Krishna has arranged. I'm living 10,000 miles away from Dham and from everybody. There is no
Yes.
association even near me. There is no association. But it's okay. I enjoy every second of the time here.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your constant association and guidance.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna,
Shri
Jai
Prabhupada.
Shila Prabhupada.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Jai
Thank
Shri
you.
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.